The middle school gym buzzed with nervous energy. Students lined up for the community safety presentation, whispering and giggling as two local police officers strutted to the center. Among them stood Maya, a shy 13-year-old black girl, clutching her notebook tightly against her chest. When Officer Grant, tall and smug, asked if anyone had family in law enforcement, hands shot up around the gym. One boy proudly announced his father was a state trooper. Another girl boasted her uncle was a sheriff. Each was greeted with approving nods and polite applause. Then, almost too quietly to be heard, Maya raised her hand. "My mom works for the FBI," she said. The officers paused. For a moment, the gym fell silent. Then laughter erupted, first from the students, then from the officers themselves. "FBI, huh?" Officer Grant smirked. "What's next? She's a secret agent fighting aliens?" His partner chuckled along, shaking his head. Maya's cheeks burned as the laughter rolled through the gym. She wanted to disappear. Her classmates mocked her with exaggerated whispers. "Yeah, right, FBI. As if her words were the funniest joke of the day. Grant leaned closer, towering over her. "Sweetheart, the FBI doesn't just hire anybody. You probably mean your mom works at the post office or something." Maya's voice trembled, but she held her ground. "No, my mom really is an agent. She's working a case right now." The laughter only grew louder. Even the principal shifted uncomfortably, as though embarrassed by Maya's claim. The humiliation clawed at her chest, but Maya refused to take back her words. Because deep down, she knew the truth. Her mother wasn't just an agent, she was one of the most respected in the bureau. And soon, the entire gym would find out. The laughter lingered long after Maya sat back down, staring at the floor to hide the sting in her eyes. Her classmates whispered and pointed, but it was the officers' sneering grins that cut the deepest. Principal Harris, a stern woman with glasses perched at the edge of her nose, stepped forward to regain control. She forced a polite smile. "All right, let's move along with the program. Thank you, officers, for engaging with the students." But Officer Grant wasn't done. He leaned back on the podium, shaking his head. "You know, it's sad when kids feel the need to make up stories just to get attention. If your mom was really FBI, little lady, don't you think we'd know about it?" The words were like a slap. A few students laughed again, louder this time, feeding off the officer's mockery. Principal Harris sighed, her eyes softening as she looked at Maya. "Maya," she said gently, "sometimes we imagine things about our parents to make them sound more impressive. There's no need to do that here. Everyone's family is important." "I'm not making it up," Maya whispered, clutching her notebook so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her voice quivered, but her eyes shone with defiance. "My mom is an FBI agent. She told me she might even stop by today." The room fell into stunned silence, broken by a snort from Officer Grant. "Oh, really? Well, I can't wait to meet Special Agent Mom." His sarcasm drew another wave of laughter. Maya's stomach twisted, but her heart held on to a flicker of hope. Because her mother had promised, if she finished her morning briefing in time, she would indeed show up. And when she arrived, the officers' smug grins would vanish. The presentation dragged on, but Maya barely heard a word. Her ears still rang with the laughter, her eyes darting toward the gym doors every few seconds. She replayed her mother's promise in her mind like a prayer. "If I can get away from the briefing, I'll come, baby." Officer Grant continued, with exaggerated authority, strutting before the crowd. "Being a cop takes discipline, courage, and honesty. We don't pretend to be something we're not." He shot a glance at Maya, his smirk sharp as a blade. The gym chuckled again, and Maya's chest tightened. Just then, click. The gym doors swung open. A tall woman in a sharp navy suit stepped inside, her polished shoes echoing across the floor. She carried herself with effortless command, her posture straight, her expression unreadable. Maya's heart leapt. "Mom." The room seemed to freeze. The students straightened instinctively, as though sensing someone important had arrived. Even the principal blinked in surprise. The woman strode forward, her badge clipped visibly to her belt, the golden letters shining, Federal Bureau of Investigation. "Apologies for interrupting," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "I'm Special Agent Naomi Carter. I heard there's a problem here." Maya's classmates gasped, their eyes widening. A wave of whispers rippled through the gym. Officer Grant's smirk faltered. He shifted uncomfortably, trying to recover his confidence. We were just giving a talk. Didn't realize the Bureau had business in middle schools." Agent Carter's eyes locked on him, cool and unblinking. "Oh, you have no idea what kind of business the Bureau handles, officer." Then she turned, her gaze softening, only when it landed on Maya. "I heard my daughter's been telling the truth." The gym went silent. For the first time all morning, Maya lifted her head proudly. The smirk that had been carved on Officer Grant's face drained away, replaced with something closer to shock. His partner shifted awkwardly, suddenly interested in the gym floor. Principal Harris blinked several times, her mouth opening and closing without words. "You're truly with the FBI?" she finally stammered. Agent Carter didn't flinch. She reached into her blazer pocket, producing a leather wallet, flipping it open with practiced ease. The golden badge gleamed under the fluorescent lights, and the ID card bore her name, photograph, and the unmistakable seal of the Bureau. The whispers among the students turned into a chorus of awe. "Whoa, it's real," someone hissed. "Her mom's really FBI." Maya clutched her notebook tighter, this time not to hide, but to steady the surge of pride swelling in her chest. Grant cleared his throat, forcing a chuckle. "Well, anyone can carry a badge. Doesn't mean..." Before he could finish, Agent Carter's sharp gaze pinned him in place. "Careful, officer. You might want to think twice before questioning a federal agent in front of witnesses." The gym erupted in a collective "Ooh." Grant's face flushed, but he said nothing. Principal Harris straightened her posture quickly, a nervous smile plastered across her face. "Of course. My apologies, Agent Carter. We are honored to have you here. If we had known..." "You didn't need to know," Agent Carter cut in firmly. "But what you did need was respect, and I hear my daughter didn't get that." The silence in the gym thickened. Maya's tormentors slouched in their seats, the weight of shame settling in. For the first time, the balance of power had shifted, and everyone knew it. Agent Carter stepped fully into the center of the gym, her presence filling the space like thunder without sound. Maya could see the way her mother's calm face masked the steel beneath. She wasn't raising her voice, yet every word carried weight. "Let me be clear," she said, scanning the room. "My daughter told the truth. She doesn't deserve to be mocked for it. No child does. You're supposed to feel safe around the people sworn to protect you." Her words hung heavy. Several students shifted uneasily, realizing just how cruel their laughter had been. Officer Grant swallowed hard, but his pride wouldn't let him stay silent. "With all due respect, Agent Carter, we were just joking around. Kids exaggerate all the time. It wasn't meant to hurt anyone." Naomi Carter's eyes sharpened. "Jokes are harmless when both sides are laughing. But when you stand over a child, mock her in front of peers, and turn her truth into a punchline, that isn't a joke, it's bullying. And you wear a badge while doing it. That's dangerous." A ripple went through the crowd. Maya's classmates looked from the agent to the officers, their earlier smugness replaced with discomfort. Principal Harris tried to interject, smoothing things over. "Perhaps we should..." But Naomi raised a hand, silencing her. "No, this is a teaching moment." She faced the students directly. "Never be ashamed of who your family is, and never let someone laugh you out of your truth. Sometimes, standing up for what's right means standing alone. But remember," she glanced at Maya, a small smile breaking through, "you're never truly alone when you're standing on the side of truth." Maya's chest swelled. For the first time all day, the laughter was gone. Respect had taken its place. The gym felt different now, tense, charged. The officers who once held the room's attention now seemed small against Agent Carter's steady presence. But Officer Grant wasn't ready to back down completely. His pride, bruised and cornered, lashed out. He folded his arms. "All right then, Agent Carter. If you really are who you say you are, why don't you prove it? Show us that badge isn't just for decoration." His smirk returned, though weaker this time. Gasps rippled through the students. Maya's fists clenched. How dare he? Wasn't the badge proof enough? Naomi Carter tilted her head, studying him as though weighing whether he was worth the effort. Finally, she stepped closer, her heels echoing on the polished floor. She stopped just inches from Grant, her voice low but carrying across the gym. "You want proof?" she asked. "How about this? I know you've been written up twice for misconduct, Officer Grant. One complaint involved excessive force on a teenager during a traffic stop. That file crossed my desk last month." Grant froze, his smirk collapsing. His partner's eyes widened, and whispers exploded across the gym. How would she know that? a student hissed. She really is FBI, another whispered back. Naomi leaned back, her gaze never leaving Grant's pale face. So tell me, officer, do you still want me to prove myself, or have I done enough already? The silence that followed was deafening. Grant opened his mouth, then shut it quickly, his arrogance drained away. Maya watched, her heart racing with exhilaration. For years, she'd seen her mother come home tired but unshaken, always strong. But now, in front of everyone, the world finally saw her the way Maya always had, unstoppable. And this was only the beginning. The gym was so quiet that even the hum of the lights above seemed loud. Officer Grant's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. His partner shifted uncomfortably, clearly wishing he could disappear. Agent Carter turned her focus away from the officers and back to the students, her expression softening. You see, respect isn't about power. It's not about uniforms or badges. It's about how you treat people, especially when you think no one's watching. Her words hit differently than the police presentation earlier. There was no rehearsed script, no smugness, just truth. Even the principal stood straighter, nodding slowly as if realizing she had misjudged Maya too. Maya sat taller in her seat. For the first time all morning, the eyes on her didn't feel mocking. They felt admiring. One boy in the back raised his hand timidly. Ma'am, is it scary, working for the FBI? Naomi gave a small smile. Yes, sometimes it's very scary. But courage isn't about not feeling fear. It's about moving forward with it, because something greater is at stake. Protecting people, seeking justice, telling the truth. Another student blurted out, So, Maya wasn't lying? Naomi glanced at her daughter, then back at the crowd. No, my daughter told the truth, and she stood by it, even when all of you laughed at her. That takes more courage than most adults show in a lifetime. Maya's throat tightened. Her mother's words wrapped around her like armor, lifting her higher. The students shifted uneasily, realizing the weight of what they had done. Shame flickered in their eyes, and just as Naomi let her words sink in, the gym doors opened again. This time, it wasn't just a parent, it was someone else, someone who would change the tone of the room yet again. The gym doors creaked open, drawing every eye. A tall man in a grey suit strode in, his presence almost as commanding as Naomi Carter's. His expression was serious, his pace deliberate. At his side, 2 other suited agents followed. Principal Harris blinked in confusion. May I help you, sir? The man flashed his credentials with a single practiced motion. Assistant Director Collins, FBI. We're here for Agent Carter. Gasps rippled through the students. More FBI agents? It felt like something out of a movie. Naomi turned, calm as ever. Collins, I didn't expect you here. He gave her a tight nod. We had to follow up on the briefing immediately, but I hear you've already made an impression. His eyes flicked toward the officers, who suddenly seemed very small. Grant's partner swallowed hard. Director, we were just mocking a child. Collins cut him off, his tone sharp. Disrespecting a federal agent's family. That's the kind of behavior that gets noticed. The gym filled with nervous whispers. Maya's classmates exchanged wide-eyed looks, the reality of the situation sinking in deeper by the second. Grant tried to stand tall, his voice brittle. With respect, sir, we didn't know. That's the problem, Collins snapped. You didn't know. You assumed. You laughed. And now you've shown every student here what abuse of authority looks like. Naomi placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder, steadying her. Collins's gaze softened slightly as he looked at Maya. Young lady, your courage today is exactly what we need more of, in this room and out there in the world. The gym went silent again. The officers had no defense left, and Maya's truth had never shone brighter. The weight in the room shifted completely. No longer did the officers command the stage, now they stood cornered, their badges offering no shield against the authority towering over them. Officer Grant's face flushed crimson. His pride battled against his fear, but the presence of multiple FBI agents left him with nowhere to hide. His partner looked down at his boots, as though wishing the gym floor would swallow him whole. Naomi Carter's voice was steady, cutting through the tension. This isn't about embarrassing you, officers. It's about accountability. You mocked a child, dismissed her truth, and turned the authority of your uniform into a weapon for ridicule. That's not just unprofessional, it's dangerous. Collins stepped closer, his sharp eyes never leaving the officers. If this is how you behave in front of a school full of witnesses, I shudder to imagine what happens when there are no eyes on you. The students murmured nervously, some nodding, others shifting in their seats as the lesson grew heavier. Maya watched, wide-eyed, unable to believe how quickly the tables had turned. Just an hour ago, she'd been the punchline. Now, the men who had mocked her stood stripped of their smugness, their reputations crumbling before her. Grant tried one last time, his voice cracking. It was just a misunderstanding. No, Naomi interrupted, her voice calm but final. It was a choice, and choices have consequences. Collins nodded firmly. This incident will be reported. Consider this your last warning. The Bureau doesn't tolerate officers who forget what their badge stands for. The silence that followed was suffocating. For the first time, the officers had no words, and for the first time, Maya realized her voice had power, because her truth had toppled their lies. The silence in the gym slowly shifted. What had begun as humiliation for Maya had turned into something none of her classmates would forget. Eyes that once mocked her now stared with a mix of respect and awe. Principal Harris cleared her throat, her tone softer than before. Maya, I owe you an apology. We should have believed you when you spoke. I should have believed you. Maya blinked, stunned. Never before had the principal, so stern and unyielding, spoken to her like that. The apology wasn't just words. It was an admission that the adults had been wrong. Naomi squeezed her daughter's shoulder gently, pride shining in her eyes. Truth doesn't need anyone's permission to exist, she said, her voice carrying across the room. It only needs someone brave enough to speak it. The students sat in silence, the lesson sinking deeper than any lecture the officers had given earlier. Slowly, a boy in the back raised his hand. Maya, I'm sorry we laughed. I didn't think it was real. Another voice joined in. Yeah, me too. Soon, several students echoed their apologies, their tones sheepish but sincere. Maya's cheeks warmed, not with shame this time, but with something new. Acceptance. Officer Grant and his partner stood stiffly by the wall, their earlier arrogance dissolved into silence. They didn't dare interrupt again. Collins glanced at Naomi and gave a small nod. Agent Carter, I think your presence has accomplished more here than any program could. Naomi smiled faintly, her gaze resting on Maya. That's because today wasn't about me, it was about her. For the first time, Maya allowed herself to smile fully. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't the joke. She was the girl who told the truth and proved them all wrong. The assembly wrapped up, but the air in the gym remained thick with what had just unfolded. Students whispered in hushed tones, glancing at Maya as though seeing her for the very first time. The girl they'd laughed at only an hour ago now carried herself with quiet pride. Principal Harris dismissed the students, her voice softer, almost reverent. Thank you, everyone. Let's take today's lesson to heart. Chairs scraped the floor as the crowd dispersed, but Maya didn't move right away. She sat still, soaking in the moment, her mother's hand resting warmly on her shoulder. When she finally stood, Naomi walked beside her, her heels clicking with calm authority. Agent Collins and the other FBI agents flanked them, their presence like a silent shield. The sight of them leaving together made the students part like water, whispering in awe. Grant and his partner tried to avoid eye contact, but Collins didn't let them slip away unnoticed. Remember this day, he warned them coldly, because if you forget, your careers will end sooner than you think. The words struck like stone, leaving the officers pale and rigid. As Maya and her mother stepped into the hallway, the sound of the gym faded behind them. For the first time that day, Maya let out a shaky laugh. Mom, I thought they'd never believe me. Naomi looked down at her daughter, her eyes soft but fierce. Baby, truth doesn't always win right away. Sometimes people will laugh, sometimes they'll doubt, but if you stand tall, truth always finds a way to shine through. Maya nodded, her heart swelling. The laughter that once haunted her now felt powerless. She had walked in embarrassed. She was walking out unstoppable. Once outside, Naomi guided Maya to a quiet bench near the school's courtyard. The chaos of the gym was behind them now, but the weight of what had happened lingered. For the first time all day, Maya allowed herself to breathe fully. Naomi sat beside her, smoothing a strand of hair from her daughter's face. You were brave in there, she said softly. Braver than you realize. Maya looked down at her notebook, the one she'd clutched like a shield. I didn't feel brave, Mom. I felt small. When everyone laughed, it felt like the whole world was against me. Naomi's expression softened. That's exactly what bravery is. Standing when the world pushes against you. Do you know how many times I've walked into a room full of people who doubted me, who looked at me and thought I didn't belong? Maya's eyes lifted slowly. And what did you do? I reminded them that belonging isn't given, it's claimed, just like you did today. The words settled deep in Maya's chest. She thought back to the humiliation, the whispers, the heat of shame on her face. And then she thought of the silence that followed when her mom walked in, the shift in the room, the respect she'd never thought she'd feel. Does it ever stop? Maya asked quietly. The doubt, the disrespect? Naomi sighed, her gaze drifting toward the horizon. It doesn't, but you get stronger, and eventually their doubt becomes your fuel. She tapped Maya's chest lightly. What matters is that you always know who you are. No one else decides that for you. Maya swallowed hard, nodding. The laughter still echoed faintly in her mind, but it no longer stung. Her mother's words had drowned it out. The next day at school, Maya braced herself for more teasing. She walked into the hallway with her notebook pressed to her chest, expecting snickers and whispers behind her back. But instead, something unexpected happened. A group of girls from her class approached, their expressions awkward but sincere. Hey, Maya, one of them said, glancing down at her shoes. We, wanted to say sorry. We shouldn't have laughed yesterday. Another chimed in quickly. Yeah, we didn't think you were telling the truth. But your mom was amazing. Maya blinked, caught off guard. She'd imagined the apologies in her head, but never thought she'd hear them out loud. It's okay, she said softly, though her voice carried more strength than it used to. Just next time, believe people when they tell you the truth. The girls nodded, and the hallway shifted around her. No more jeers, no more mocking stares. Instead, she noticed curious glances, even admiration. A boy whispered to his friend, That's the girl whose mom's FBI. Another added, She stood up to the cops. For the first time, Maya didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. At lunch, a teacher stopped by her table. Maya, your mom called this morning. She wanted me to remind you, she's proud of you. The words made Maya's chest warm. She smiled to herself, realizing she wasn't just living in her mother's shadow. She had created her own light. The laughter from yesterday had been replaced with something new, respect. And even though kids would move on, forget, and chase the next story, Maya knew she would never forget. Because for her, everything had changed. That evening, Maya sat at the kitchen table, her notebook open but her mind far from homework. She kept replaying the events of the past 2 days, the sting of laughter, the shock of her mom's arrival, the silence that followed when truth shattered arrogance. Naomi entered quietly, still in her suit, her badge clipped at her waist. She placed a cup of cocoa beside Maya and sat down across from her. For a moment, they just shared the quiet, the weight of everything unspoken hanging in the air. Finally, Maya whispered, Mom, yesterday I hated being me. I wanted to disappear. But then, when you came, I felt proud, like I could face anything. Naomi reached across the table, taking her daughter's hand. You don't need me to walk into a room for you to be proud of who you are. That's strength. It's already inside you. Yesterday you didn't back down. You spoke the truth, even when no one believed you. That's something even seasoned agents struggle to do. Maya blinked, surprised. Really? Really, Naomi said with a smile. And one day when people doubt you again, and they will, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember that you stood tall, and the world had to rise to meet you. Maya closed her notebook, her heart steady. I think I want to be like you when I grow up. Naomi chuckled softly. No, baby, be better. That's the legacy I want for you. The words settled deep, becoming a promise Maya made silently to herself. Because in that moment she understood, laughter could sting, but truth was stronger. And her truth, the courage to stand firm, was her greatest inheritance. She was no longer just the girl they laughed at, she was the girl who proved them wrong.